Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate you taking time out your busy day to be here. As you guys already know, this is Beneath the Surface, where we'll go beyond the surface level stuff and dive into the conversation and things that people don't normally see on the surface level. As you see, my name is DJ Lester, and I'll be your host today. Before I tell you where I'm going, first, I need to take you back to where I began. My name is DJ Lester. I've traveled the world. I'm a realtor. I'm a published author. I coach, I teach, I mentor, and I do a lot of other things. You see, I was born in Columbus, Ohio, but I wasn't raised in America. I moved to Nigeria when I was young, and that's where I was raised. That's where I learned culture, survival, gratitude, and family. Before everything went wrong, before foster care, before the pain, I was just a kid in Nigeria, and life was simple. I remember just growing up in Nigeria, just running around freely, feeling like the possibilities were endless. I remember just running around the community, being involved with everything because music brought everybody together. I used to enjoy the music. I used to enjoy the culture. I used to enjoy the food. I just enjoyed being around, just kind of exploring different things as I felt like the possibilities were endless for me as a kid. I was just an explorer as a kid. I love seeing different things, talking to different people, and just getting to know the different sides of the world. I felt like I had no fears at all whatsoever. And that's what I loved about it. There was no pressure. I was just living life to the fullest as I felt. I remember just growing up, like I said, waking up, greeting my family, symbolized with a head nod, or sometimes you just kind of kneel to them, basically, which was something that was very important because discipline and respect was very important in our culture. I remember waking up, preparing for school. We wore a uniform to school, which was something that's very important. We would trek to school, meaning we'd walk to school, sometimes miles and miles and miles to school. I remember having green uniforms. So we had green shorts or green pants, and then we had white shirt with a checkered shirt. And then when I switched schools, we had blue pants with the white and checkered shirt. So that was something that was very important, which led to school. School was very disciplined and very strict because that was something that was very high valued. Our parents were very strict as well too, because that was just something that they believed in. The education was very important. So for me, that was just something that kind of rolled off of me, and I loved being a part of school. I just love to learn, just love to soak up different things, and I love to try different things growing up. So that was great. As far as our culture went, like I said, I talked about discipline and respect. Those things were very important, growing up as a kid. That's something that kind of taught me a lot. It taught me to respect my elders. It taught me respect, having emphasis on focusing on school. So I tried my best to kind of get through school and be respectful and not accord. That's just something I believed in. As far as like my daily life, I remember waking up in the morning, we'd have to sweep the parlor, which is like our living area. We'd go fetch water. We'd take things to run errands for our family, go pick things up from the marketplace or run and do errands or whatnot because it's all about respect. That's just something that was very important. There was not a lot of luxury. There was no complaints. We were just living life with no pressures, because simplicity equaled happiness at the time. We would wash clothes. Instead of washing clothes with a washing machine, we didn't have a washing machine. You had soap where you put all your dirty clothes in a little bin, with water in there. You would scrub the stains out. When you got taken care of, you would hang dry those shirts and let them hang and dry that way. And you try your best to kind of take care of the things you took care of. As far as cooking food, the cuisine was just something great. That's just something I admire about our culture. Food just was something that brought our family together. There was nothing you could tell us, because food was just part of that I enjoyed eating. There's so many cuisines and different things and traditional dishes that we just had that I just enjoyed. Everything was always fresh. You wanted something fresh, you would run to the marketplace and just get it right then and there. You wanted fresh fruit, you had it there. You wanted fresh peppers, it was right there. You wanted fresh meat, it was right there. They can just cut it right in front of you. So nothing had any additives or any preservatives or anything in it. Everything was just fresh off the market. And that's just something I enjoyed, just always having a fresh meal every day, and especially with how the family cooked the food and the meals, because just the taste of it. We ate things like rice and stew, fufu and stew, chin chin, yams. We had puff puff. We had suya. We had jollof rice. Even other countries were competing to see who had the best jollof rice. And I remember those things. I remember how the smell was. I remember going to my childhood best friend's house, and his mom would cook, and we just always ate good all the time. We was always full. because we always had food. But that's just something I loved about the culture, just kind of being around those things and whatnot, just eating together as a family, which is something that brought our family together. Even my family, we lived in a compound together where everything was just here and there, like everybody, when dinner was cooked, everybody came together and just ate. Even our snack time or nighttime, like we used to have bread with peak milk, tea. You know what I mean? We'll pour it into the tea and have that at nighttime before bed. I remember just sitting there with my grandfather, and by this home, he would sit outside and just kind of stare outside. And I remember he used to stare at the moon as a kid, just look up there and just see, man, like how far would it take to try to reach, the moon, when the moon used to be shining so bright. That was just something I admired as a kid, and just having full conversations. My grandfather, my family, whatnot, just running around. I felt like I was and everything was endless. I had no worries at the time. I felt seen, I felt heard. It was just something that I just loved about it. As far as playing wise, I remember just running around the compound, just playing different games. Played such games like hopscotch, catcher, different things that we used to take like the cashew nuts, and we used to put them on, line them up and throw rocks at them, trying to knock them off. It was just basically like marbles. Like we play those and try to knock them down, and you pick those up. I remember just kind of just running around, just climbing trees, picking mangoes off the trees. We had a tangerine tree, we had a plantain tree, we had a banana tree. Just going up, just grabbing those fruits of the tangerine trees. It was just something just great about that. It just brought me a sense of um, hope and excitement. It was just something that was just so great. That's just something I fell in love with, just having all these things within my grasp. Another thing we used to have was a cashew, it was a cashew fruit. That's what most people don't understand either, too. The cashew is actually a fruit. There's a fruit and the nuts attached to it. It's like the nuts that you get from Walmart and those places like that. I used to literally climb the tree and gather fruit. And the only way to kind of explain what a cashew fruit is think about a pear, but the texture of an apple a little bit, but the texture is soft. When you bite into it, it's just so sweet, and the juice just hits your mouth. It just kind of hits your taste buds, and you just fall in love with it. It was just like a little watery taste, and it just was so great. And if you guys want more reference, you can check out my Instagram page and look on there. And I posted a video about what a cashew fruit is, or you can even Google what a cashew fruit is. Not a lot of people knew what a cashew fruit is, but that's just something I loved growing up as a kid, just eating cashews off the tree, eating mangoes, climbing trees, just having fun being a kid. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt like the possibilities were endless. There was no pressure at all. Everything was just great. We didn't have running water, but we had a water well where, you fetch water from there and you do a lot of things from. Like I said, with the laundry, you wash your laundry, you hang them up, you go fetch water from the dam when we didn't have water. It was just like I said, everything was very simple. You couldn't take a shower by just turning the knob. We took cold showers. And then if you wanted a warm shower, you had to put firewood together. And then you heat up the water, then you mix it with the cold water, then you have warm water for a shower. It was just something that, taught me a lot. It taught me how to be humble as a kid. It taught me to be appreciative of having the things I had as a kid and be thankful for the things that my family did for me as a kid. So I had no complaints about that. So I enjoyed my childhood and things were just great. That's just something that kind of humbled me as a kid. And I just love everything that my family did for me. And I always respected them. I didn't ask for anything much more than that, but just to be a kid. So that's just how the things were. So it's just something that I admired about my family and just growing up in Nigeria. So I spent all those years growing up doing all these things and whatnot. And it's just something that was just great. So for me, like I said, like it just brought the community together as far as everything we did, you know what I mean? Exploring or whatnot. Everybody respected each other. We didn't have the best of everything, but we made the best of everything. And that's what was so great about it. And at the time, it made me feel seen. It made me feel safe. And that's just how everything was. I was happy. I was very content. I didn't know really what struggle was at the time because I was just content with what we had. I just thought that was the most richest lifestyle we could have had. It's just how it was. And then eventually everything changed.